Dear friends, I hope you all are well and keeping safe. Today I'm in beautiful Rhode Island, and between meetings, I have time, so I thought I'll use this time to record a video for you all. What am I going to talk about today? In the recent times, if you have seen my videos, I have spoken a lot about longevity, health span, and lifespan. And I have been often quoting Dr. Peter Attia and his work from the book Outlive. So I thought I'll dedicate a video to Outlive itself, my learnings from the book, some of the thoughts that has provoked my way of looking into health altogether. And here I am with the video. Hope you like what you hear, and I look forward to your feedback and comments. As always, I'm very grateful and thankful for all of the love you have shown to my channel. Outlive is a very interesting book, and I'll divide that book into four broad categories. First part of the book talks about the evolution of medicine, 1.0, 2.0, and the future of medicine, which is 3.0, which author talks about. Part 2 is all about horseman diseases, the four horseman diseases, their implication, and how they impact human beings. Third part is all about medicine 3.0. So now that you have understood the horseman diseases and the fallacies of medicine 2.0, what we have today and how you can evolve yourself to medicine 3.0. And the last part of the book is some of the things that you can bring to your day-to-day life, which can avoid all the ailments, and hopefully you can live a longer life and a healthier life. One of the part that intrigued me the most in the book is some of the things we take ourselves for granted are very difficult to do towards the latter part of the life. Simple things like brushing teeth or shaving, for example, could be an arduous task as you grow old because of your ailments, because of the disease states you have, and how you have taken care of your body. So imagine something that we take completely for granted is not available to you. Things, for example, which matters most to me is like my outdoor activities. I love hiking, I love cycling. Imagine taking that away from me. So my question always to myself would be, would like to have a life like that where I'm living, but I'm not living to the terms that I need to. Of course, we need to all adjust as we grow old, but how about we know some of the secret sauce that we can bring to our life right now, so that you can not only live longer but live in a very healthy fashion, so that we can enjoy this life. That is the crux of the book Outlive altogether. I would highly recommend you to read the book. This video is not a replacement of the 400 odd pages that Dr. Peter Attia has written, but I want to share some of my thoughts with you. I want to provide my perspective on top of it, and hopefully you will agree to some of those as I go along the process. So let's first talk about what is medicine 1.0 and 2.0. Medicine 1.0 is by and large back in the day medicine which happened way back in time when human beings were learning to live in society, and as they're living in society they were hit by different kind of diseases and ailments. And at that particular point in time, how the old Romans, or in the Hindu culture, Ayurveda and others came into play and tried to treat disease based upon the elements available in the world, like plants and the ecosystem that they lived in. They are very effective till date. In fact, Ayurveda and homeopathy, both which has originated from India, is very well practiced and very well renowned as well. And so is some of the traditional Chinese medication you must have heard about. Surgery was introduced by Roman back in the day, but it was not very common. And the new age of medicine, which is medicine 2.0, evolved during 18th century, went all the way up to 19th, and took a peak in 20th century, and a complete hockey stick effect in 21st century, where the understanding of the human body became much more clearer to the physicians, the doctors. They understand how the organs function, how they are connected, and by and large some of the disease state they could control either by direct intervention like surgery, or by medication, which pharmaceutical companies have created using small molecules which are chemical based, large molecules which are cell based, that the pharmaceutical company creates. it has given a greatest boon to the lifespan of human beings. So if you see, um, on an average, I think people live for longer, 70 and 70. I think 78 is the number in the US, if I'm not wrong, much longer in Japan. It varies from country to country. Of course, gene plays a big role, but I think medicine is a big intervention, and I think one of the common aspect of that is when human being understood the concept of hygiene, washing hands, and understood the concept of how they can treat communicable diseases well, that kind of contained a lot of those aspects. COVID is an example of that as well, which we have all have understood. Although there are different school of thoughts in terms of the medication and the vaccine we took, but by and large that falls in that category. So now, what is the fallacy in Medicine 2.0 and why should we thrive for Medicine 3.0? Before I go there, let me explain to you the four horsemen diseases. So there are four big diseases which can happen to human beings. By and large, cancer, as we all know, is very destructive. Different kinds of cancer are there. Similarly, metabolic disease like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, heart-related diseases, and then you have neurodegenerative diseases like dementia, Alzheimer's, to name a few, which are brain-related, which are causing a lot of old age, degeneration, as well as very sad situation that individuals and families are suffering today. And these four horsemen diseases are a cause of concern for many of the deaths happening today, as well as many of the other aspects of living a longer life but not a healthier one. What the author says is that Medicine 2.0 has broadly four different fallacies. Fallacy number one, screening on time. Well, screening methodologies are available today, but based upon some of the implication we have from insurance companies, they're limited. For example, some insurance provider limits you to take your screening once in a year, some limits you once in 2 years. And what baffles me is that why you should stop screening, and why you are thinking about the upfront cost, which can, if you detect the disease early, you can treat it early, so you can intervene early and can in fact help the insurance company to save money down the pipe. But regardless, that's one concern that we have Medicine 2.0. Second concern is what is getting tested for. By and large, for most of the deeper testing, like DEXA testing, for instance, or if you want to go into VO2 max kind of testing, you need to get a prescription, or you need to pay a lot of hefty amount from your pocket. So appreciating that is very important. I'll talk more about some of those testing a little later, but what you're testing is also very important. And also the culture part as well. Some of the countries where testing you do not do, you only go to your doctor when you're sick. Predominantly that thing is changing, but by and large, there are societies where they are very afraid to go to your doctor. And then the whole dogma around how doctor treats patient. There are certain fallacy in the way the medicine world treats patient, and they are also impeded by some of the laws they govern to, and that kind of creates the whole notion of multiplying factor. For instance, when there are numbers that define whether you're diabetic or not, or pre-diabetic or not, for instance, and medication are offered to you based upon where you are on those numbers. And I think the author argues that how can we do not see the progressive increase of a number, for instance, and deciding whether this person is a danger to get diabetes and intervene early rather than waiting for that number to happen for a medicine to come in. And the second part of that is horseman diseases are connected to each other. So once you are diabetic, for example, getting cardiovascular diseases, in a lack of finding a better word, is easy, right? That's how the body function, because your organs are not treated well, your insulin is not getting produced, so is your dementia, so is Alzheimer. But Medicine 2.0 limits you unless and until you do not see the symptom, you're not treated. So that all leads to what we call it as reactive based intervention, and by the time you realize you have the disease, it's too late. You are maintaining that disease, which is you have to pop in pills, you have to do medical intervention. All of that you could have avoided if you would have screened it early, you would have treated it early, even if you're not into the disease state now, and then could have prevented a disease to happen from altogether perspective. Now, having said so, I want to then move on to the concept of medicine 3.0, which the author talks about. So what is medicine 3.0? It's everything that is wrong with medicine 2.0. To alleviate that is what is medicine 3.0. So if I have to again see it in different spectrums, spectrum 1 is all about seeing the entire diseases interlinked. So do not see metabolic disease different from cardiovascular disease, different from dementia, different from Alzheimer, and so on and so forth, and see them together. And so is cancer as well, and see them together and screen them early, treat them together, and make sure that you let the human being or the person you're treating introduce to the concept early in the game if you see a change. Second concept is your lifestyle changes, which is very important. That spectrum talks about what you put inside your body in terms of what you're eating, what you're drinking, versus what you're the kind of food you're eating, the minerals you're getting. It's very important. A segment of that is also about the access to food, the abundance of food that we have, and how it works out. I'll talk about it a little later, but that's a second spectrum. The third spectrum is all about exercise. So you have screened yourself, of course you're treating yourself. You're eating well, of course you're preventing your diseases, or drinking well or drinking rightly, so you're preventing disease to happen. The third part is also exercising. You need to burn calories, you have to move. Your mobility, exercise is important from so many different dimensions, from mobility standpoint, from your health standpoint, from your metabolism standpoint. There's so many factors, impacts. Also doing the right exercise is important too. Also there's a third aspect that is important. And the fourth aspect, which author didn't go in much detail about, very important point, is mental health as well, which is as important as your organ health, your body health, which often get ignored, but that's also a very important element that we need to talk about. So if those are the rules of the game, what can you as a person do? And here are my learnings. This could be a combination of what I've read in the book, what I've read in some other books, and some of the principles I've followed in my life as well. So take it as you feel appropriate for you, and then apply it in your life as well. Now, first and foremost, I would say, let's start in the same order. Screening. Even if insurance is not paying it, try to see if you can do the screening. I know for some people it may not be easy, but oftentimes check out areas and avenues. There are screening available through your company that you're working. Go and ask for them. Call up your insurance agent. Maybe you can get, if you're not getting 2 minute screening, but see and find out ways and means that you can screen early on things. And if not, then if you can afford the money, go and do the screening. Oftentimes I go to India. India is cheap, so try to see if you can go to a different destination, like if you're in the US, like Mexico, and get your screening done. My personal opinion is to screen quite often, at least, if not less, twice a year. Number two, what you screen is going to be very important as well, and there are aspects to that, and I will leave it in my description box in more details. But typically when you do a health check, you are not getting the full blown impact of everything that you want to measure. So for instance, please do your fasting glucose monitoring. Please do your DEXA, which is a bone density measurement. Please go for a VO2 max, which is so very important. I'll talk about in the exercise area much more in detail. It's very important for you to know how much of volume of oxygen you can burn or take when you're in a stress situation. So introduce all of those elements, and I'm going to mention that in my description box. So please pick it up and see that if you can screen yourself for those as well. Once the screening is done, the next step is to understand how you're trending on the screening. If you do it every 6 months, you'll see the trend accordingly. And then my biggest lesson learned is, I also believe that you should avoid medication. But if you're in that trend, do not avoid medication, and see that if you can have early intervention. There are great medication made. You can take it more like a preventative. Don't wait for diabetes to happen to take a diabetes medicine, or don't wait for your cardiovascular arteries to block to get your medicine on, let's say, blood thinning drugs, right? So intervene early and then get those medication prescribed by a doctor so that you can kind of prevent them, impede them from happening. That's bucket one. Bucket two is a lifestyle change. It's very important what you eat, and again, we have different kind of fooding habits. We have also a different culture. Based on the culture you have to figure out. But by and large, you have to see the carb intake, the protein intake, and the fat intake. All are important. Don't get me wrong. And again, there are keto diet which avoids carbs altogether. There are diet fat-free diet. I'm not a big fan personally about it. I believe in balanced diet, but make sure the portion of your protein is very crucial, and making sure your carbs portion is limited accordingly to the portion based upon your body mass index and how you are in your health situation. But make sure that you have the right amount of carbs, fat, and protein into it. One of the way I measure my protein is a body weight. Whatever body weight you have and multiplied by 2, that's the amount of protein you should take, if not 2, at least 1.5, and that's the amount of protein you should intake. So make that portion work for you, and make sure that you have right food going inside you. Avoid the ultra processed food as much as possible, things like burgers, things like processed meat, things like anything that is in a box and a can. Try to avoid it. I follow a rule where either I use it software on the app known as Yuka, Yuka. Again, I'll leave the link in the comment section, which you can use to scan a food and figure out its ingredients. But if you do not want to, the best rule I follow is that pick up the food. If there are more than 4 ingredients, try to avoid it, right? So by and large, you'll see that a lot of the things that you do not want in your body is automatically getting neglected. That's a great way to put the right things inside your body. I personally do not drink at all. If you can be in that mode, awesome. I only drink water. I avoid all kind of liquor. So if you can do that as you're growing old, it's going to do good for you as well. No matter how much of benefit they say they have in wine and all, if you can, you can, then do that. If not, do it in moderation. Third aspect is no kind of juice is good for you. So even if you have organic juice, pure orange juice, try to avoid it. Simple reason is there is a way your body is formulated, right? So when you drink juice, you're drinking the fructose or the glucose directly. It is getting consumed in your body. It will spike your sugar level up. But when you eat a whole fruit instead of, let's say, orange juice, like you eat a whole orange, you have the fibers in it, and the glucose and the fructose will be dissolved slowly, and that's how the body will intake it alongside the fibers and the other minerals that you're getting. So things like that you can bring into practice. I'm sure there are different ways and means you can inculcate in your day-to-day life. If required, you can consult a nutritionist and see that if that can help you out from an overall standpoint. So that's the second part, which is on the lifestyle. So you see, I've spoken about testing early, testing the right things, and testing repeatedly, and then taking action if required, medication. Lifestyle change is second one, and the third is exercise. You should include all kind of exercise in your routine. You should have muscle building exercise. It's a known fact that as you grow old, you lose muscle. So you need to tone your muscle, right? So you need to do some weight to make sure that you can tone your muscle so that you do not lose your muscle as you grow, especially when you grow 50 and older, you rapidly lose muscle. And the second aspect is you need to ensure that you include some amount of HIIT into your routine, high intensity workout. You can do sprint running, you can do hiking if you like that with Peter Attia says that take a backpack with a lot of weights inside it and just hike mountain, right? So that's another way to do exercise and increase your strength as well as increase your volume of oxygen in the blood, VO2. And then do zone 2 exercise as well. Zone 2 exercise is where you're not working too hard. It's not about getting that high rep high volume, high rep in, but doing enough so that you cannot hold a conversation when you're doing the exercise. That's how the author describes it. It's about your heartbeat. Let's say if your normal heartbeat is 60, your heart is beating at about 90 beats per minute. So that's the kind of intensity you want to bring in. Always watch your heartbeat as you do exercise. Now I promised you I'll talk about VO2 max here. VO2 max is a very, very interesting thing that you would like to measure. You can measure it in a close physio setup where they can put you on a treadmill with different wires on you, and they'll ask you to run, for example, and it's basically how much of oxygen you can burn, volume of oxygen you can hold when you're doing anything in stress, like running, like fast walking and things of those nature. And the more you can hold, the more longer you can go, and you can manage your breath well and your health well. VO2 max is a direct indicator of how healthy you are for the age you have. There are different marks to it. For example, for 40 to 50 age group, I think a VO2 max high level should be around, if I'm not wrong, 47, if I'm not wrong, for male, and I think female is about 41. I may be wrong on that. I will put it in the description channel, but there are ranges. All I want to say for male and female, what Dr. Peter Attia says is that always aim for the VO2 max for a age group before you. So if you're in the 40 to 50 range, target for the 30 to 40, and that's how you can always remain active and remain in a good health situation, and longevity can be with you along with the long health span that you have. So that's about the exercise part. Zone 2 exercise, HIIT exercise, and also to make sure that you do some of the strength training using weight and otherwise for your muscle. Now that you have done the screening, the eating habits and drinking habits that you do, and now you're exercising, the last part I want to talk about is the mental health. I think having a mental peace is very important. By no means in this video I can cover everything, but at the same time, what I would suggest is that exercising, meditation is very important. Calming your mind. If you have anxiety, see a doctor, for example. But there's a very good book I can recommend on is Feeling Good. Forgetting the author name, but Feeling Good, Dr. D. Burns. Yes, I remember the name now. Feeling Good is an amazing, amazing book. I promised before that I will record videos on that. I will do that hopefully soon. But Feeling Good is a book which talks about how to do away with anxiety, do away with your depression in a non-medicine way. So where you don't have to take a different kind of medication to control that state, but typically how you can use different exercises to control your mind. But mental health is very important, and I'm not an expert by any means, but the office you go to, the family situation you have, the financial condition you have, all plays into that. So you have to make sure that you're mentally calm and mentally active to live a healthy and meaningful life. So that was the summary of the book. Overall, hopefully you like it, and hopefully some of those lessons you will imply in your life as well. I would love to hear from you, your thoughts on this. If you're doing few things beyond this, or some of those practices you've already inculcated, talk to me. Let me know how it has worked for you, and I look forward to hearing your feedback soon. Thank you once again for listening. Take care. Bye now.